Hey everybody, how are you today? Wow, what a day yesterday. It was election day, November 8th. We've been talking about this now for the past, I would say, 4 or 5 months. Me and four other friends get together and we talk about what is the ask. And I'm not sure we asked for anything, but yesterday was pretty stressful. So we decided that we'd come on after the day after and sort of do an after action review and just check out and see what happened and what kind of impact does it have on Black folks. So, welcome tonight and join us. And if you have any comments, please don't feel um, please feel free to share it with us. So I'm going to go to my panel, my trusty panel. I think they are here. Um, we're having some technical difficulties, everybody. So hang with us, hang tight. We think that Facebook is doing some upgrades and we're just not with it. So as we figure that out, my technical team is figuring that out. I just hope that we as Black folks really took some time to kind of pay attention to what was happening. There was a lot going on. And I think there's a lot of discussion that we ought to be having serious discussion as a community. We tend not to until something happens to us, and then we run around with our hair on fire. Well, there's a lot of people that are feeling pretty good about yesterday, but I'm not sure Black folks as a group have a whole lot to feel real good about. And so I'm bringing my panel on. As I said, I see them now to just kind of talk about what happened yesterday and how do we feel about it. We got a deep red Florida and a Georgia that's I don't know what color Georgia is.
It
You
ain't.
know
It
what
ain't
color it
purple.
is.
It ain't purple.
but
That's
but y'all got to tell me. It's like I don't know what color Georgia is. It's but Georgia's crazy. But Georgia may be where the hope is for Black folks to galvanize and begin gaining some ground. Now that's me talking, and I know I'm going to hear your opinions. I think Florida's too late, but Georgia, maybe there is some roads that we can go down. But for right now, I just want to get your impressions about yesterday. I got to tell you, I was in a funk last week. Albert, you called me and
Okay.
said, "Hey, you weren't yourself last week on
Yeah, but I
the
can't
call,"
figure
and
out
it was
how to do
true
it.
because I was
How
feeling
to
a
get out
little
here. I'm
anxious
freaking move.
about what I was hearing in the media,
No,
mainstream
no.
media, as they say. I also watch Fox
Oh,
News,
oh,
and it
oh.
was really kind of
Hold on.
bringing my spirit down. Um, but this morning I did feel better. But why did I feel better? That's the question. Why did I feel better today than yesterday when I know my main question, what is the ask? Black folks ain't asked for nothing and probably ain't got nothing as a result of that vote yesterday, those votes yesterday. So, Alton, I'm going to start with you.
all right.
Georgia, what's happening? What's going on?
Well, we talk about the ask. Um, Stacey Abrams didn't sell. Um, she was so out of touch
Wow.
with what Georgians overall, but Black Georgians in particular, are more interested in. Um, I'll push aside the nerdy for a minute when it comes to telling people what she could actually do as governor. But on the debate stage, in her public service announcements, campaign stuff, she touched on every other topic except for um, the economy. Um, She did not discuss specific economic and health issues impacting black people. She gave a lot of lip service to black men, um, because there seems to the Democratic Party appears to be picking up on the angst amongst black men.
Yeah, I
I, I
agree.
don't I don't think we want to be, particularized, if that's a word. We really don't. But I think we're giving some pushback to all these external factors. We get called up for a whole lot of nonsense. You can see it on social media, you can see it in regular media. And all of a sudden, we were made the target. If, when she comes out and when she came out and said, "Oh, if y'all vote for me, I know I'll win." But the opposite is, if we don't come out and vote for you, you're saying that you're going to lose. So you're already throwing us under the bus, and I don't know why. But she did not speak to issues again specific to this state.
Yeah.
She was speaking to whatever her handlers out in San Francisco told her to speak to. Even during the last debate, she was trying to tie their talking points into issues regarding the economy, issues regarding healthcare facilities, which is different than abortion, and other issues, whether it's LGBTQ or what have you. And they just didn't fit. And I would tell anyone, whether they live in Georgia or definitely outside of Georgia, because people outside of Georgia have this really, I don't know, this unrealistic view of what's going on here. But I'll tell them straight up, she did not speak to Georgia's issues. And if you want to be in Georgia, if you want to be the governor of Georgia, you are 65% figurehead, 35% administrator. So
Wow.
if you're going to be the figurehead of the state of Georgia, you have to align with its overall culture. Now, she's going to be a little different than the overall culture because she's a black woman. She's not a good old southern boy, white boy, right? I get that. But she has to be more in line with the culture. And she
Yeah, but
was
I'm
not.
not. I'm not sure you do. I hear you, but and you say I get that, but does Kemp align with the overall culture of
Yes.
Georgia? And if that's
When, when,
so,
when
is
I.
it an appropriate culture for Black folk?
Uh,
And does she
mhm,
have to figure out how to manipulate the situation so that she doesn't totally rely on that 28% of black vote that went to her in Georgia, that
mhm,
she can get those white votes as well, and
yeah,
alienating them
yeah.
makes absolutely no sense. So her speech, when do we start learning how to talk in code, in a code that I'm talking to you, but the white folks are listening, so I'm and we get that. So I like
Yeah.
Stacey, but I think it's a challenge that I don't know how she was going to manage that, but
Yeah, well, I'll speak quickly because I was ready to jump in. I can see it, but yeah, the camp and the culture. When I say camp and the culture, I admit to I keep up because I'm not. We're the only thing we have in common is that we're the same age, literally. And that's about it. But when I say that he speaks more to the traditional culture. It's not
hmm,
that traditional culture is not 85, 95% of Georgia anymore. We have to take into account what Atlanta looks like and then the rest of Georgia looks like. But he represents that solid establishment basis, if you will. He represents those boys who went to school with 40 years ago. That's him, just 40 years older. That's who he is. So when I recognize him, that's what I see. But he gave me what I expected in terms of the optics. He didn't give me what I expected in terms of voting. Officially, I'll make it clear. I'll put it out there. I didn't vote for him. People listening out there, I didn't vote for him, and I didn't vote for Abrams. Okay, so I have no skin in the game in terms of promoting one over the other. So again, when I say he spoke closer to that traditional Georgia culture, which is not necessarily the majority of Georgia anymore, but it was enough. But I think what added to the 250,000 vote advantage he had was that Abrams again did not take advantage of whatever changes she saw in the state and did not effectively tie that into a message that everyone could get into. She left a lot of people out, and when you get a 250,000 vote beaten, that should be a message to you that you did not that your message was not encompassing enough, or better yet, was not relevant enough to win that.
Alton, I've got, I've got a different sermon tonight. Okay, and my sermon starts off like this: If you don't understand white supremacy, then everything else you think you understand will only confuse you. Now, this is from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and she laid out an agenda where, and I'm going to give you a simple example. In corporate America, when it is time for them to do something, even if they are wrong, they do what I call ear pulling. They give that special signal to each other that says, okay, once I do that, I don't care how wrong it is. I don't care
Yeah.
if it's illegal. It is time for you to stick with me
To fall
on
in
this
line.
issue right here and fall in line. And let me bring home the point I've been hammering for at least 2 weeks now. The Griot, I don't know if you guys subscribe to it, but it's a newsletter that comes out every day that has some good articles. The headline today read, "Where are all the white women?" That was supposedly going to show the Republicans what voting was like in 2022. And guess what? The article went on to say that who were the most voters that got the Republicans in? White women. See,
It's
so if
right.
we can bat this thing around and black, and
It's right.
they'll tell you Stacey didn't know this and Stacey didn't know that. That's like ignoring the fact that Walker didn't know nothing, but he stood there in that light of white supremacy when they
Yeah.
pulled that ear, and everybody got in line. The white
They
women who
fell
didn't
in
like Roe
line.
versus Wade, the young folks who didn't like the Republicans, the old folks didn't like Republicans, but they understood one thing: white is right. And so that's where it ought to be a message to all of our black women who want to be women liberals, who want to be with the women organization. They don't care about you until it's time for you to help them move their agenda. And we are
Yeah.
part of too many agendas like that. Stacey didn't have a chance. She should have swept the board. Warnock should have swept the board with white women only. But instead, all the white women said, "Oh, they didn't really mean it when they turned over the abortion thing, and it ain't that big." And all of a sudden, what do you hear? What are the pundits saying? "Oh, well, it ain't that big of a deal. It's not really gaining traction." That was a real big deal. That was a real big deal that white women claim you're gonna pay. And my take this morning was, yeah, they paid enough to get you to vote for them. And that's what they did. They paid you enough, white women, to do the vote. So that's where we are in America today, and we got to understand groups. So that's where the problem is. We don't understand groups. We actually think it's Democrats and Republicans, when in reality, they are two wings of the same bird. Okay, white supremacy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most important thing that I'm hearing you say is the fall in line. We as black people don't know how to just fall in line, number one, but we don't have anybody leading us. There's nobody leading us with a clear message to say, no matter what happens with Stacey Abrams, you fall in line. We need to be able to tug the ear, regardless of what she says or does. We have to decide who are the candidates. We don't care what they say about the candidates. We will fall in line. That is it. We're
How's
not
your
doing
Wa-
that.
how's your
Mona,
Walker
what
show?
say,
Yeah, go
huh?
ahead, Mona. Go ahead. Now, you gonna get me on a rant here in
I,
a
I,
minute.
I,
I
I
need
agree
you to
on
go
some.
there, but go ahead.
I agree on some point on falling in line. Now, Stacey Abrams, when she ran the first time, she had such hope, such momentum, but she lost that some kind of way. And when white leaders want to hitch their wagon to the feminists, of the white group, it becomes a problem for everybody else. And I saw maybe 6, 7 months ago that this woman wasn't going to win this. She was losing the people. Now you guys look at MSNB or CNN, but I'm looking at the YouTube influence. All these people constantly, week after week, things you said, saying if white men don't vote for me, you got to talk to our issues. And I am one that going to be black first, but Jesus Christ, she really threw us under the bus. So, and I believe it's over. Her political career is over. She's never
Yes.
going to be able to take this back in the face.
Well, maybe her political career is over. Maybe I'm not necessarily going to buy into that, but maybe her organizing career is about to take off. Now,
yes.
she is good at that, but
Yes.
I think that the problem is less the candidates, and it's more us. Like Mandela Barnes, the guy who ran against Huckabee in Arkansas, Beasley in North Carolina. We saw some pretty good candidates, potential candidates that black folks, instead of the next day us just saying, oh well, let's just go on about our whatever, let's just talk about it, somebody needs to be calling them up to say, let's get you ready. Let's get you ready. In fact, we're going to start raising money, Mona. We're going to choose those candidates that missed and say, we're behind you 100% on your next run. We like what you're doing. Let us talk to you about the platform and start. I mean, we already got people out there that potentially could be those folks that start out with, we're going to help you. And this is on a I guess the federal level, and we can start working into the local, but we already have potential candidates. The problem is less them and more us, because we don't have a group or a movement that all of us buy into. I'm not saying they don't exist. That all of us can buy into to say, I'm going to pay my dues to that person because we got this slate of candidates over the next 10 years that we're going to put in place. Period.
I think the problem is the white handlers, the white managers would tell them, you can't speak to this issue. Republicans didn't care about, they spoke to their issues. We skid around our issues, and particularly black candidates. They can't. The main thing I want to hear is police reform. Val Demings start pushing back from it. What is wrong with saying that we need to do something with that? She has to speak to the issues of the people to get them excited. Black people just wasn't excited 4 years ago. Are you any different? 4 years ago. Has anything changed for you? 4 years ago, 6 years ago? Let's go back to 8 years ago. Is anything different? Now, I think what's going to be different, particularly here in Hillsborough County, I want to see how things change, because we had a red wave. And we needed that. These people, they get our votes, and we go out and vote. I mean, they don't want to come in on the ground thing. I thought the last post or so with Val Demings on Saturday was just ridiculous. Yeah. It was a waste of time and money to be there. Those people there was already voted. You should have been paying people to be phone banking, finding the people who hadn't voted.
So see, one of the things, and maybe Alton saw it maybe Alton saw this on the news here. They were talking about the women and how they were going to vote, and they interviewed this older white lady. And so she had said, yeah, I had some abuse in my relationships years ago. And this was in relationship to what about Walker and the revelation that he had threatened his wife with a gun. He had threatened his son with a gun. He had had them move every 6 months. And after laying all of it out, you know what she says? I'm still gonna
What she
vote
said?
for him. I'm still
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gonna
still
vote
vote
for
for
him.
him. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yes.
so that's why I said, and I bring that back around because you guys are arguing merit, and they're not arguing merit. They're arguing tribe. They're arguing their red flag. It's like the Crips and the
Yeah.
Blood.
Mm.
Okay.
Right.
And we
That's what.
keep saying if we can find a good candidate, we can find somebody that speaks to this, if we can find a good candidate that is qualified. All those words are what we believe the system to be, and they
Mm.
are showing us what the system actually is. If
Well,
they decide you the one,
right, right.
then you go with it. You check it off and you go. You don't
But
ask
are
no
we?
questions.
But that
But
Yeah.
okay.
are we part of the tribe? Are we part of
Right.
the tribe?
Do we have
Because
an
we've
No.
been voting with the
represents
tribe.
that
But
tribe?
do we
That
get anything?
right.
Are we part of that tribe?
Oh,
And what
I
people
No,
didn't
like
we're
include
Deacon
you.
not.
Lewis,
We're not.
I
We're
no,
not.
certainly did not.
No.
I
why
certainly
they're
did not
protesting.
include the four of us as a part of the tribe, Mona. No, no, by no
I,
means. Oh, that's what I'm saying to you. There is a party going on, and if
Hmm.
we're not servants at that party, we're sitting there looking in the window,
Right.
watching them have a
yes,
good time. And
Hmm.
they
yeah,
they being the Democrats and the Republicans, I said it earlier, are two wings of the same bird. In other words, they on the
sure,
same team and they go back
yes.
and forth with a script. Okay, you take this one. Okay, I'll take the next one.
Hmm.
Okay, 3 years down the road, you can have that one right there. You see, all that is played out in the game of white supremacy versus everybody else. And until we come to terms with that and stop fooling ourselves and telling it's all about merit, Mandela Barnes would have worked just as well as anybody else. Right now, Walker has 49 point something percent of the vote that the last poll
Right.
I saw, and
Right.
Warnock had less than him.
Oh,
Are
so it's
you
flipped.
kidding me?
No, I saw
That's
the
what it looked
opposite
like
of
the
that.
last one I
Yeah.
saw. It might have changed by now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the fact that they're
Yeah.
even that close, the fact that they're even that close, as
Right.
uncomfortable as Walker was throughout the campaign, toward the end, all he had to do was say, every time somebody says, "Did you do this?" No, that's a lie. No, that's a lie. No, that's a lie. And everybody went, check, check, check. 1,900,000 and something for Warnock, 1,900,000 and something for Walker. Now we
Mm.
got a runoff. That ain't
Well,
that ain't
So
got nothing to
so
do by merit.
right.
so
But
you're right. It has nothing to do with the candidate. It has everything to do with what you just called it, the tribe. And our tribe is non-existent. And everybody knows that. Stacey Abrams knew that how in the world can she listen to the black tribe that really is non-existent? When I go to my YouTube, when I go to watch television, I saw DeSantis on the tube 24/7. Everywhere I went, it was DeSantis,
Hmm.
which meant to me that he has a whole lot of money from somebody,
right.
something, and plus he was using our taxpayer dollars
Mm.
gallivanting around
Mm.
the state trying to make issues that were not issues so he could be in front of everybody. But his tribe makes sure that he is on the airwaves 24/7. She doesn't have a tribe.
Can
She
she
got a
create
she
a
got
Barnes
she
tribe?
didn't
got a
have a
she got a
tribe.
tribe. She
Yeah.
got
What's
a
up?
No, she
tribe.
doesn't have a tribe.
She got a
She
tribe,
has
but
to
you
she
watch
has
when
to
you see
go,
the
she
vote.
has to use the white folks, not the white folks is not her tribe. It is
You
not
you got
truly
85
the
you got
tribe.
85 you got 85% of black folks voting for her. That's a big force right there to be reckoned with. And then you put in the other pieces of this puzzle and you say, okay, now if you want our support on this or if you want our support on that, then these are the things you're going to have to do. It's back to negotiating again. This is what I want
Albert with Albert with 13% of the population.
and your point.
That's
The-
not that tribe alone is not going to get her
well,
into
how
the
did the Tea
White House.
explain to me how the Tea Party explain to me how the Tea Party was able to maneuver the Republican Party as easy as they were, and they added up to 2-3% of
Yeah.
the Republican
Because
Party. Explain
yeah,
that to me.
because
Well,
they
I'm gonna let
directed.
I gotta wait. I have a thought about that, but I'm gonna let Alton try this one because I
Alpha.
can tell you why that worked and we don't work.
Yeah. They combined that narrow message and picked out the right spokespeople to then target the leadership in the Republican Party and to target the messaging on media channels. So they optimized the media channels, television, radio, whatever, and they targeted the leadership. And they had their own leaders who, when they went out to message, all shared the same talking points regarding what the Tea Party wanted. They were able to carve out their niche using that tactic.
So
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 when
so
it,
what
when
do
it
we miss? Is
comes
that
to
is that our blueprint? Is that our blueprint then? Is that what you're saying?
I would recommend a similar blueprint where the lead you need a leader. Yeah, you need a Bismarck. You need a leadership that says, okay, I'm carving out this tribe. I'm writing down a value system in stone like Moses, and this is where we're marching. And you need that leadership in front of the tribe initially, laying down where we're going, and then turning around and facing forward and saying, follow me. We don't have, the black community does not have leaders. It does not. But you're gonna need that those type of people out front again, unifying the tribe based on some value system. We don't have that. That's why we're dispersed. Now
Jeanette,
that
what's your answer then? What's your answer then, Jeanette?
Well, every time you try to get that, no matter what it is, we have people inside the community. Let's just go with Black Lives Matter. Half of us, bougie, did not like Black Lives Matter. And if we could have
I can't hear
maybe
you.
changed,
You're breaking up.
uh, how about now?
Good.
Good. Go ahead. Say it again.
Okay. I was saying, so like Black Lives Matter, let's take them for an example. Half of black people just shitted on those guys instead of coming together, helping them be strong, helping them get. We didn't take them serious. To Hillary Clinton took them serious. That's our problem.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is our problem.
Hmm.
So
Hillary
so
when
let
Hillary
let's
when
let
Hillary
me
Clinton was
let me give a stab at it. I agree that is our problem, and I don't know what you talking about over there, Albert, but that is our problem. I think that if we look at the Tea Party and the MAGA movement and all of that, how it kind of slowly, and then you look at Trump over here, birther, whatever, starting to put out this kind of message. Suddenly, you had this group of discontents who started saying, "We like what he's saying," and they
mm-hmm.
started courting each other. They started courting each other, and then when Trump went up that escalator, he had enough of a relationship with those malcontents
yes.
that and he wasn't even sure where it was going to take him, but they had already started that dating. Black folks, we are not dating anybody at this point because we don't hear any kind of message coming from our leadership that speaks to what our issues are. And if reparations takes you way out there and scares you, let's talk about the political figures, and scares you that every time you say the word, you shaking in your boots because Mitch McConnell is going to come and slap you down. That's not the leader we're looking for. If
Right.
we had a leader that was brave enough to listen to what I hear out there in the periphery amongst blacks, and it starts resonating and they start dating, you can do what the MAGA movement did because what was that? Black people we're 11% of all voters, and we voted 86%. And I'm not just talking Georgia; I'm talking across the United States. We're only 13% of the population, and our voting electorate is voting 11% of all the voters, and 86%. You pull that out of the Democratic Party, they are toast.
They're toast.
They are toast.
Toast.
Once
Yeah.
again,
That's
I
good.
thought that was our prescription, but the fear, it came in. The fear was, oh, but if you don't vote, it's going to be bad. Well, it's bad anyway.
It's already bad.
What are
Yeah.
we
But
talking about?
that's because
It's bad.
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
Alton.
mean,
Alton.
that's
Hmm?
awesome.
Alton,
What
go
were you
ahead.
going to say?
No, I was agreeing with everyone. Yes, with those numbers, and I've been saying this for a while. We just need to be brave enough not to show up. We have to be brave
Mhm.
enough to admit that we are in an abusive relationship, and I would
Right.
even it's not it's an abusive relationship, and we need to. Yes, there's a significant number of people among us who are going to say, "Oh, but what are we going to do? It's going to get worse." To Albert's point, it's already bad.
Yeah.
So during this time that you're separating, you got your basics covered. You're still gonna go to work. You're still gonna eat. You still got some over a cover over your head. You're just not listening to that narrative from the left that does not work.
I
And
can tell you this.
you're spending your time clearing out your filter and saying, okay, who's let's first of all let's develop our value system, and if there's and there's going to be a leader out there who's going to step up and say, okay, I'm ready to be the front person. Because right now, as a side note, now then I want to get to Albert. Right now, as a side note, yeah, you've got other voices out there, TBA, New Black Media, ADOS, what have you, but no one amongst them, or no group of leaders amongst them is ready to come forward and say, okay, we're going to structure our movement in such a way, blah, 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 but there's going to be leadership. Everybody's on code, and we're going to be moving in these prescribed directions. That's the other key. When we go looking for leaders, or somebody asks who our leaders are, you got these old heads who are on the take. So the leadership has to change. That gelling needs to occur. That's what we need.
So I was in Las
Yeah.
Vegas playing golf one summer, and in 102 degrees, and it got hotter than that while I was out there playing. But you can't at 102. Ain't much difference between 102 and 110 degrees. And I'm saying that to say this: we may have to take some unnecessary heat, but we're not going to
Sure.
notice it because we already at
Yes.
102.
Yeah.
So us backing
Mhm.
away the votes, taking away the votes, and that's going to scare a lot of people. It's just like I told y'all, I'm trying to back away from meat. It scares me that I can't eat my chicken from Bojangles. No ad for them, but still, you know what I'm saying? It
Mm-hmm.
scares me because I've gotten used to that taste. But at some point, if I'm going to change my life, I got to go through a little bit of discomfort to move to the next level. And it's time to say, we started out 4 weeks ago saying hashtag stand down. And I think that's the
Mhm.
answer from now on.
Mm.
Walk away from this foolishness because at this particular point, until somebody takes notice of us, and I'm like, Mona, in an abusive relationship, somebody got to take notice of us. Either the lawyer to get me out of this situation, or the person who's doing the abusing stopping the abuse. And right now, it's the Democrats on black folk. You know,
Yes.
So, Albert, I feel real good about the fact that you're trying to get rid of the chicken and the beef and the pork and all that other stuff. But the good thing is you don't have to stop eating, and you can have substitutes in there however you do it, even if you make your own meat substitute. You can, and then you can create something without having to go into the negative of just not satisfying yourself with regard to eating well or eating something that's tasty and good. All right. I'm
now
saying
you
that to
you say that
say,
to say
I
what?
don't know. Okay,
You
I was
got my
trying to
And
go
she
support,
with
said
one more
Albert.
that.
thing.
You got my
Yeah.
support,
She
Albert. You
she
Okay,
got
said
my
that to
but
say
I'm saying that to say
she doesn't want us to withhold
maybe
our
we
vote.
don't.
Go
Well,
on,
I'm
Jeanette.
saying that to say, y'all just let me say it,
Go
please.
on and say that drum
But
you beat all the time.
I think that maybe we don't work in the negative, but we work in the positive. All right.
Give
That
us
we're
something
not
concrete that
taking
we can
something
grab.
away, but we're taking that which exists already and steering it and creating something with that that works for us, and that gets is what gets noticed. So I'm not asking you not to vote, to stand down, and I know that we all said, hey, I agree, we all said, but maybe what we need, instead of taking something away, we have now steered it to certain candidates, and we're giving them that power. I kind of talked to you about this before, Mona, a while ago, that
Mm-hmm.
we are
Mm-hmm.
looking for candidates and we are giving them the power, and that becomes what's visible. Wow, black folks have organized, you know,
Alton,
black folks now are
What she trying to
empowering.
say? Let me tell you what she trying to say, Alton. She said, "Let's paint this old rusty car and call it a new car." That's what she trying to say. That ain't helping our
She,
situation.
Well,
You know,
no,
steering
I
no,
just
no.
I just don't
I,
agree
I,
that you're taking something
Wait a
away.
minute.
That ain't
She,
what I'm
she's
saying.
saying,
it.
she's
Yeah.
saying, and correct me if
pick
I'm
our
wrong.
own candidate.
All right,
You
I
want
need
to
to hear
take,
from Alton, because that ain't what I'm saying, Alton.
I thought
Go
you,
ahead.
But it
hold on.
sound like to me.
Because if she was saying that, she would be saying something like, "Go get Clyburn and dye his hair," but he's still going out there saying the same stuff. What she's saying is the physics, the, the physics of politics, electioneering, candidate is the same. The engineering's the same, but I'm building my own car. Okay. So what you're going to see on the outside, the four wheels and the vehicle and what have you, what you're not going to see at the outset is who made these tires, who made this steering column, who built the electronics in the vehicle, and who's driving it. The drivers are going to be different. The components may look familiar, but they're going to be
Mhm.
manufactured by somebody else. But more importantly, the direction of the vehicle is different than the other stuff you're seeing.
Are you
So
talking about a new political party? Are you talking about a new
it
political
can be
party? Or are
a,
you
it
talking
can,
about
it
that same old ship we've been riding for too
a
I'm
long?
new
I'm
a new
talking
political
about
action
I'm
committee.
talking about a Black Federalist Society.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Like I said,
That's all I'm
is
talking
that a
about.
new
I don't think
party?
MAGA is the model. I think the Federalist Society is more the model.
They're
The
the model.
question is, here's a
Right.
direct question.
So what's the difference between the White Caucus, the NAACP? We need all of those people. Um,
I
what?
wouldn't bring the NAACP into nothing.
So
It's
so
What
once
I'm
I
again,
saying.
think I
once
think you
again,
have to I think you have to. It's kind of like the Federalist Society. Before we
Yes.
even knew they existed, all of a sudden we just saw stuff changing, and we saw
Yes.
judges and whatever else, and
Yes.
all of a sudden, oh
They
my
pick.
God, they've been
Yes.
doing this for the last 50 years. What have you?
are
Yes.
We
you
need
talking
to,
about a
and
new party?
they didn't go to
no.
the popular groups.
Are you talking
They
about a new
became the
party,
controller.
Jeanette? That's all I'm asking. Are you talking about a new party, or are you talking about riding the
No,
same old ship you've
No.
been
She's
riding
talking about an organization.
I'm
She's
talking
talking about a
about.
new.
Within the Democrats?
Yeah,
No.
I'm not talking about a part. I'm not talking about a party at all. I'm talking about people who, the MAGA is
Organized.
not a party. They're actually taking over the Republican Party. They are the Republicans, and they are shifting everything about what it means to be a Republican. And the Republicans can't seem to control that or change it, and they are going to have to do something else. I feel like that brand has been stolen, hijacked.
Ha!
We
That
do not need to be a party. We just need to be a people that gets respect, because, or a society, if you will, that maybe either one of the parties will come to our, like,
It's a
come
new
to
it's
us and say, hey,
it's a
we just
new
need to,
it's a new
we just
thought.
need to start steering this thing,
Yeah, it's a new
and
it's a
stop
new
Yes.
right.
accepting what everybody is throwing our way. And
if
you're
you
right,
don't,
it needs to be new drivers, new wheels, none of this retreading the
Right.
old stuff. And
Yeah.
if some of the rules change along the way, we change those rules to suit our needs.
Yeah.
And whoever we say we're going to support has to
Right.
follow that. They have to follow that
Yeah,
mandate.
and that's why it cannot be a political party. That's why it has to be more of a narrative driver. It's a think tank, and it's saying these are the ideas out there.
Think tank.
We're choosing the voices that we believe can be the most influential. And yes, Democrats, Republicans, if you're noticing that your ideas, thoughts are being overshadowed now by this new thought driver, then come over, pay that $300 and buy a white paper. And if there's something in there that you can use, and then make a pitch to us, and then we're going to have our thought drivers push your agenda. But we control thought. We control black thought. You need thought. It's philosophy, narrative, politics, policy, law. Law is the bottom. Law just holds all the dirt and all captures all the history and tells you this is how we got here and this is the new rule. But you got to start with thought. You got to
And
start with the
see,
philosophy,
and see
and
to me,
blacks philosophy is more of a responsive. Like Jeanette pointed out a couple of weeks ago, we don't move until you know who points.
well,
That's
but that's
exactly
what
it.
I'm saying,
We have to abandon that.
and that's what this model sounds like too. We go and negotiate with people. We go and tell them what we want, but in reality, what you're saying is that the machine is still there. We're just gonna go to the machine and try to see which machine is gonna help us go where we want to go. And that's what I hear.
Well, okay, and I see your point, but the first machine is the one that we build. So if GM went to Tesla one day and said, you're beating our asses, so let's enter into a joint venture or something. Yeah, that's down the line, but Tesla can always say, well, we have our own vehicles, we have enough leverage to say no to you, unless entering into a joint venture also supports our purposes. But we're the ones making the final call on that joint venture. But we are perfectly fine focusing primarily on the vehicle that we've produced and the message that we're creating and the candidates that we're finding. Yes, are we going to go in there and win 200 seats in the Congress in 4 years? No. But you don't have to, because that's the thing about politics, whether state and definitely federal. All those ideas that these guys allegedly come up with and put into legislation, I can tell you 9.9 out of 10 of them never wrote a piece of legislation in their life. They were persuaded by a think tank.
Well,
That's how it gets run.
And
they're saying big
and
business now.
the Federalist Society took 30 years to get to where they're at now. They
But you
have
see,
been
We got to
building
start
and
somewhere.
yeah, and
yes,
Moses,
that's right. We need to start. I agree. I've always said we need to think, pick our candidates, groom them. If you look at certain of the mega people, those who just go real right, they all say the same thing, do the same thing, follow the same script, and they get elected. And they get elected with the people that are, they get elected.
and
And
that's
I
and,
think
Yes,
what
and
they
that's the
do, I
But
think
time.
see,
you're right. I think what they do is you got the Federalist Society, and then you have all these groups that fall in line. They all
mm-hmm.
fall in line and they all have the same talking points. And how do
All
we
of them.
figure out? And I think this is where your friend, Brother Long, comes in.
right.
Because how do we start connecting into people out there that we see as bright stars, and we say to them, we're going to raise money. So don't go away, Mandela Barnes. Don't go away, the guy in Arkansas. We liked what you said, but now we want to have a discussion with you,
Hmm.
right? In terms of where you're going and where we as a people need to go. And we don't have to really talk about that with everybody out there. We just
You
need to
know,
start supporting those people in ways that Black folks have never supported each other. And you're
I don't.
right,
Yes.
Mona. It's going to take a while, but I've only started talking like this since we had this conversation about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You remember? We need a pack, we
Yeah.
said. That's all we
Yeah.
said at that
Yeah.
point.
And
We need a pact.
you think 30 years? You think 30 years? I want to see it. I want to see something.
No, no. You see, we're not.
Okay. Am I asking for
You
too
got to be
much?
prepared. Not. I'm
Right.
prepared not
Am
to see
I
it.
can I ask for one thing?
Was it
I just want
Moses?
to see
Moses did. I
one.
mean,
Moses didn't see a
who
thing.
didn't get into the promised land? Somebody didn't
Moses,
get.
Moses didn't
They
get
let the
in.
people.
40 years,
Yeah.
walked around the desert, cleaning out people's filters.
If
Said,
he
now
if
you're
he
ready.
had used his GPS, because where he left from and where he went, but it
It
wasn't
wasn't
but
that
5 or 6
far.
miles. All he had to do was use his GPS, and instead of all that walking around like he losing his mind. And I'm saying, before I go, I don't think I got 30 years, okay? Because I looked at my mama when she died, looked at my dad when he died. I, I want to get it done within my lifetime. I'm talking about within the next four,
We're gonna
5 or
get one.
6.
We're gonna get one or two
No,
candidates before that
I'm
happens.
talking about, because see, in my mind, if I chose Alton or I chose Mona or I chose Jeanette, I don't care what your qualifications are, you my choice. And then I
Yes,
want to put you out there. And the reason I say that, look at Walker. Come on, where did he come
yes,
from?
yes.
No
It's
political
perfect
background,
example.
no understanding,
Yeah.
no community relationships, nothing. And they said, just stand out there, and this is all I want you to say. No, you a lie,
Yes.
and I want to be your congressman.
That's
No, you a
all. That's
lie.
Yes.
I
all he
want to be your
said.
congressman. That's all he said. And he's right now in a death to death battle with Warnock,
And he's going to
who has
win.
been
Yeah.
out here in the community for 20, 30
Yeah.
years,
And he's
working
going
his fool head off, and
to.
now he's sweating bullets. So, Mona,
Yep.
before I go, I don't want to wait 30 years. I'm saying to you, based upon my family, I got 20 years, okay? And I'd like to see it done before that so I can even enjoy that. That ain't the last thing I want to see going out the door, okay?
We'll push for 10, but I can't
Yeah,
guarantee.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Push. How about push for 4? I mean, this
5.
this year. Okay, Mona's pushing for 5. Okay, 6 then, Mona. That'll give you the 2024
Fine.
election.
Okay.
That'll give you the 2028 election. Okay, that's
Okay.
6 years. I can wait 6 years, but that gummit 30 years. No, I oppose that because the other side of the machine is getting stronger. I'm telling you. That's why I started off with that bit about white supremacy. They are getting stronger by the day.
Yeah.
And once they solidify all of this and put all these laws in place, for instance, there's a law in Georgia, you can't tear down the Stone Mountain Monument, the biggest, most evil monument in the area.
Hello. Yes.
They put a law into place because they saw they were
I
getting
did
ready to
not know
lose some
that.
seats. Yeah, it is a violation to even talk about tearing that statue down with those 4 horsemen up there on the side of that mountain. But
Yeah.
they did it with foresight. They said, well, we may lose in 4 years or we may lose in 5 years. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the poison pill in now. And my question is, why can't we start today? We see the results. We're disappointed. None of your people got in, I assume, or did you vote for DeSantis? Who gone? You can confess if you want to on here, but
My
and
people got in.
yeah, see, but I'm saying none of
I,
my people got it. I'm still fighting
I
around
vote
looking
for the
for my people to get somewhere and not have to go through all this struggle for craziness. I got 6 years I'm giving you.
Okay.
What we gonna do? Yeah, I'm just saying
Well, I
2028.
think you. Yeah, I think you do the 20 or 30-year plan.
They
That
she
of
go back
course
to 30
always
years.
gets. Okay, wait.
No, she's right.
I heard you.
You
I ain't
need
gonna
I
be
heard
here.
you.
6 year
I think
increments.
you give it a you look at where do we want to be in 30 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Where do we want to be in 6 years before Albert dies?
Right,
Put that
6 years.
clause in it.
Right, 6 years is what I'm
6
saying.
years.
Then that'll
Yeah.
give me 4 more years to enjoy it. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Lord, this is
I'm
so
working. I'm
perfect.
working this thing now.
Yeah,
And
I'm with you as well. I feel like we our generation, because we are on a limited time frame. We
yeah.
need to do something, and we need to do it significant. And we do this, and we pass it on to our children, because right now we're not really passing anything on to them.
No, impact.
We're in fact losing ground, as you've said. Um, this to me is necessary, that we establish a think tank that has actionable goals that tie into people in this country that knows that we've got their back.
So
And that when
what
they're
should
up there
we
doing policy, they know that we've got their
right?
backs financially as well.
So what should we do about Walker? That's coming up in another 2 3 weeks. What should we do about them? Alter
Nothing.
them?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked.
I think this is just me, and I'm in the minority on this one. I Watching him win, it won't bring me joy. It bring me a sense of good.
You
Now I
are in the
want to see the
minority.
next step. And
No,
what
it's
do I
not.
mean by that? If Walker wins, it's a wake-up call. And black
Sure.
people
Mm-mm.
need to
Yes.
wake up. It's like, okay, so,
Black
Yes.
so,
people,
so somebody's
black
gonna put
people
me
are not going to wake up. Mm-mm. Black people are not going to wake up. The
well,
the fact that he is in a
as a
runoff
collective,
is a wake up call.
is a what?
Go ahead.
The fact that
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You just made me anxious because you are in the minority on that, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm in
But
the
go on.
minority on it. I'm in the minority on it. But yeah, will all 44 million black people wake up? No, I don't need 44 million. Like I'm not a Q, but I admire what they say when they say this. We only need 10. You only need so much. You only need that spark. You need a what's going to come out of that is a small, significant, well-driven, well-disciplined bunch who are going to say, okay, this is where it's going. We need to act. Who has a plan? I hear Bradley has a group with a plan. Those are the people that are going to be created, and those are the people you're going to sell to. I
Oh, you
can't
think
work.
you think you think
I
this
can't
with
work.
Walker getting in is going to be such a big wake up call that the black folks going to say we need to get our act together.
No,
Most blacks are gonna say, "Oh Lord, what? Oh," and then they're gonna, they're not
that's
gonna
what
do
they,
anything.
that
10,
part.
10 out of 100 are gonna say, "Okay, there's a shift going on here. We need some answers." I hear there's a think tank down in Tampa. That Jeanette Bradley person, yeah, let's go get some ideas from her because we need to go outside the box. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, but
I
Walker wins,
I I
I
agree.
don't
I
agree.
we can't have
agree
single
No.
going to
people. We can't have
has
single.
to happen a hard hit. And we're not going to change that narrative and that what we're trying to do without that. Because if Warnock win, it'll go back to business as usual.
Yes.
It has
Unless you do something. Unless you do something in the positive, not the negative. And that is, it seems to me Warnock needs a call from a think tank of some sort to say, let's talk about the next 30 days. Let's talk about the next however many days. Let's
Mm.
talk about that. Let's talk about how we're going to support you. Nobody needs to know all of this except Warnock and that group, that think tank, and let's say Long has a way of getting into and having that discussion. Let's say
So you're gonna
somebody,
you're gonna need me to do a Tom Hagen impersonation like tomorrow, and,
yes,
and go up to
like
Warnock and say,
tomorrow, because
I got
this
an
is
offer you can't refuse.
okay. So we got 1 minute. This is our 1 minute call,
Oh.
but yes, we do.
Mm.
Somebody, white folks do this all the time. They just
Mhm.
bang, make the call, and then all of a sudden everything changes. But we have to
Okay.
start going to the people that are in place yet to say, you want help, here's what you're going to have to do to get that help.
Yeah.
And we're working in the positive rather than the negative. And
So
when you
so
get
so
into
you
that
don't
seat,
believe the wake up call would be not voting.
I don't think you're going to get that from the folks. You're not going to get that from the folks. You got to go straight to the person to say, here's what we're willing to do, blah, 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 but we need you on board. We
But
need you to become a part of what it is that we're going to try to do. And then we got to produce over that next 30 days, get him into that seat. And then I think that's where that's where it is, because
okay.
folks are not folks are going not going to let that man not to get through.
So what
Black
But
would
folks
you
aren't.
he's too
They're gonna
what would
vote.
you
he's too weak
They're
to
gonna
carry
vote.
out the black agenda. He's too
so
weak
what
to
would you
carry out the black
demand? What
agenda.
would you
He's a
demand? What would be
pastor.
your
It's
ask
never going to
for?
happen.
yeah, he too weak for it. But
What would be your ask?
Okay,
What would be your
I'm
ask,
not with
Jeanette?
you, but you know what?
Jeanette, what
I
would be
think
your
we are
ask?
down to the wire. We are down to the
um,
wire. I just love having these conversations with you guys. I just love y'all disagreeing with me, and tonight we got to disagree a little bit with you, Alton. But it only happens if we do something, and maybe that is us, and maybe the discussions need to be with people who we know can tap into these folks to say, what is it that you need us to do, and start doing it. Mona, I think we have to put into place that plan we talked about 3 years ago, because
Yes,
that's the exact same thing y'all are talking about now. Anyway,
yes.
I think I might be out of time. 43, 44. um am
Look,
I out of
y'all.
town, you guys, or anybody
Now, let
last
me.
words? Anybody?
Here's
I know
my
you got to
last
say
Good
word.
something,
night.
Albert. Go.
I don't have 30 years. That's all I'm gonna say to you.
Okay,
I
we're
want to see
on the
something
first
done.
Now,
phase, the Albert Fields phase one. So
Right,
let's
right.
shift gears
I
but we
want to
not.
see I want to see something kick it into place before 2028, so that if I make it to 2030, I can go like, that wasn't bad, you know. But if I got to keep waiting on Christmas, I'm gonna
You don't
stop
have
believing in Christmas.
you
Okay,
don't
that's
have to
all it
keep
amounts
waiting,
to.
but we lost the board. It took 50 years for them to get the Dobbs decision. 50 years, and they
The
worked on
Dobbs.
that relentlessly in the background. All right, you guys, I think that
All
is
right.
it. We'll just let Sydney go ahead and sign us out. Thanks.
All right.
good night.
Great